All right, what's up, everybody? So today we're here with Ken Chorley. I've interviewed Ken, some of you know, a few years back. He's one of the first people that I've actually interviewed. And the back in around that time, I didn't know anything about energy really and stuff. And right now, I know a lot more and stuff. And I think most people that are like really fans of telekinesis industry for a very long time probably remembers Ken, but like some of the newer people probably have no clue who Ken is. So let me just introduce him a little bit. So he is a phenomenal telekinetic, and he was a very well-known teacher back in the day. But he took like a few years off to kind of like he was just telling me earlier that he like needed to heal himself and to like and things like that. So he's been out of the game for a while, but recently he reemerged on TikTok, and I'm super excited that Ken's back because Ken is honestly one of the wisest people that I know. And as far as like doing like legitimate telekinesis, he's one of the first few people that I know that can like move sideways under glass. Which is like hard as it is, like I've done I know how hard it is. But Ken not only has done it, but Ken's done it live, and like as far as I know, he's done it live twice on Facebook. So that's incredibly impressive. So yeah, I mean, I'm just super excited that Ken's back, and I'm glad that he's back on TikTok to reach the youth, if you will, that are interested in energy. So super excited for Ken to be back. So yeah, without further ado, Ken, was that a good enough introduction, or
Yeah,
do you want to elaborate a little bit more about yourself?
no, that was great. Yeah, I mean, I definitely was one of the OG, one of the first ones that started doing live demonstrations in person and on the internet, and definitely had a pretty potent connection. But yeah, thank you for all the beautiful words, and um, I definitely took a break, and it was good. A lot of my students freaked out, and but a lot of people needed to just be free to do their own thing, and it's good to kind of pull back, especially when you're being like held up as such this certain person, and it's like you all got to do your own shit, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
but
yeah. I know what you mean. Like, cause like, as I'm a nobody, but really like, as I gain more fame within this telekinesis industry and stuff, a lot of people started to think that I was, like an enlightened master or something, which I'm far from that, like, I mean, just
yeah,
because I mean, I think it's a little bit frustrating when you can especially do aerokinesis and stuff. It looks so impressive, when you can dissolve the clouds. It looks so impressive that a lot of people have this misconception that I'm some superhuman, like, next level spiritual guy or something, which like a lot of people don't know how easy it is, how you can also do that as well and stuff. And it's a bit frustrating, So I know exactly what you mean. This false expectation you almost give people and stuff, and that's part of the reason why I kind of want to take a little bit of step back from like doing demos and stuff in the future. I'm just cool. I'm content like being an interviewer. I'm content just like just getting the best out of people and stuff that are interested in this type of work. So
yeah.
do you feel that way a little bit, like as far as like this? I mean, you're obviously a phenomenal airbender as well. Do you kind of feel a little bit overwhelmed when people kind of have this false expectation that they think like you're like this? Because when I first met you, like I kind of looked at you the same way when I first interviewed. I was thinking like I was super nervous, like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to Ken Chorley. I can't believe this. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's people's natural programming in society when it comes to a savior complex or like a master complex. And I mean, I would never allow people to call me master anything, because even I, am not a master. I'm here in the same universal school everyone else is. Now, I might be from a certain realm, and I might have been here multiple times and have like really developed my connection to the elements in other lives, which gives me a more potent connection. But we're all here in this school, and I always would tell people that just comes from your still old programming and wanting to put me on a pedestal. And you can be right there with me. We're all equal and together. You just don't have your connection fortified. You haven't worked on yourself. And it's all about the journey. So you know, I definitely for like the demonstrations, you know, I have pulled way back from all of that. And just because people, and a lot of people get in their ego with the power and all of that stuff. And I've actually, you know, I would do it so much and I would bend the reality so much in my life, you know, changing stoplights, moving cars around. I mean, just like crazy stuff. And I actually took a complete break from that too, just so I could just see the difference. And I learned how to ground my energy because if you're too much up here in the upper triangle, like I had a pineal gland activation, so I was really up here, and for years I still couldn't ground. And so pulling back, I was really going to hone my ability to ground my energy so that way I can harness more amperage. It's just because we're electrical, it's the same way as like an electrical current. Like if you have a good ground, you can hold more amps, right? And so let's say if you have a heater running and you don't have a proper amperage, the heater is going to blow the circuit. So, you know, we heat up when we work with those things. And I will tell you what, like doing what I did and starting like a 3D business and making a lot of money and doing what I've been doing over the last 3 years in the matrix has grounded my energy. And now my connection is like 10x stronger. So, like the ability that I had to connect with the elements is now even more potent. So, you know, it's all about becoming a complete balanced being. You don't want to focus so much on one aspect or just on abilities because abilities are side effects of a complete, you know, transformation or a complete balance and a harmony within yourself. So I always tell people, like, you know, we're all in the same game. And yeah, I might have gleaned more than you, and I might have practiced or been teaching it for, you know, 10 years, but that doesn't mean that you can't hone yourself and develop and ground and open your circuitry and connect your heart and really start to bend the reality because we're in a phase, especially, and that's why I've come back on the scene in 2024 because this is a powerful year. This is an 8 year, it's a dragon year. It connects well. I'm a monkey in Chinese astrology, so this is a big year for me and others. So this is a year to really start things and to launch things and to be connected. There's a lot of powerful things going on since 2017 with the first solar eclipse that was incredibly powerful. We have another one coming up in April 8th. And if you haven't been connected to a total solar eclipse, that's a very paranormal thing and elemental energy, and there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on. So we're in a really powerful time. Like from now, I mean, since 2012 it's really been off the charts, you know. And I had my blast off or awakening in 2014, and I would say the next 50 to 100 years, it's like the time, it's the rise of the D Jedi. Like a lot of us are from that sect. A lot of us are from the Orion's belt and the planets that revolve those stars. And a lot of us are dragon beings, and like we're here to see the transition of what's happening now with the energy. And so that's the most important thing, is that if you feel connected to this message or you feel like you're having experiences or you're getting on board with telekinesis or telepathy or psychokinesis abilities, then you're one of those souls that's here to do this. You know, you do this play. Like I'm trying to get away from even saying work. Like we're here to play and have fun and connect and find each other out there on the grid, because the more we come together, the more connected and the more powerful amperage we can bring as one community.
Yeah, well said. Ken, um, obviously, you know, as I mentioned to everybody, I interviewed Ken a few years ago. At that time, you told me you're still living. You still live on the Lake Michigan, or
Yeah, I live on the lake now. Yeah.
Okay. So you live on the lake.
I live on a
That's even
bayou
better.
off the lake, but I think when we talked, I was actually living on Lake Michigan.
Cool. Very cool. So, Ken, you mentioned to me at that time that your goal was to build an energy school on Lake Michigan. Is
Yeah,
that still the vision, or has your vision changed since then?
that that's still going to happen for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, right
Yeah,
on.
yeah. There's been multiple. I've connected with some other practitioners that had a similar idea for these massive structures, and this is definitely that's going to happen in the next 20 years. It will be somewhere on the lake here, um, and it's going to be a beautiful place. You'll be able to stay there like a college. There'll be dorm rooms. You'll be able to do like 3 months training, 6 months training, year trainings, and even like a 4 year program. And it'll be connected with multiple practitioners in multiple modalities, and it'll be an overall energetic school, basically like a mystery school.
That's awesome. Ken, is there something mystical or special about Lake Michigan? I've always wanted to ask you, like, is Lake Michigan like a sacred place? Like, because I don't, a lot of times people think of Sedona or something. Lake people don't really talk about Lake Michigan, or you just live there, like it's just like just another lake to you. Like, could you answer that?
Yeah, there's no coincidence that my soul has dropped me here. um, Lake Michigan is very powerful. We have all this fresh water. There's actually a crystalline city in another dimension out in Lake Michigan. um, So Lake Michigan is incredibly potent. It's also what I call a Goldilocks zone for the United States. So our weather is very tempered. We have no crazy storms. It's very mild. Everyone's going to want to come to Michigan in the next 20 years. The next really great like aha is going to happen in Michigan. It's why I've been drawn here. It's why other practitioners from California, Sedona, Europe have been drawn to Michigan over the last 4 to 5 years. That's why I'm building the school here. It's one of the greatest places to connect with elemental energy. It has like a well there with the deciduous forests and the water and the storm systems that come through. Like being able to do storm work is amazing here because you can create storms out of nothing over Lake Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very the water spouts, the tornado work, like it's amazing because you can work with water spouts and tornado work and you can bring them right into shore and they lift up over the dune. And so it's just a great training ground, and it is a beautiful spot. There's amazing vortexes here. There's actually an energy out in Lake Michigan that they call like it's actually like the Bermuda Triangle, and I'm about centered of the location. It goes from Saugatuck, Michigan to Pentwater, and then it goes out into the lake. So it makes a perfect triangle, and out in that triangle is in a crazy magnetic energy. And I've been out there in the boats and have felt the energy, and the water spirits that are out there on the water are amazing. Like oceans have amazing energy and are wonderful, but there's something amazing about the fresh water, and there's something connected. I mean, there's not coincidence that it's shaped like a human hand. um it was definitely carved out by the beings that came here and mined everything and cut down all the ancient trees. They mined around Lake Michigan, creating Lake Michigan is basically an old quarry. So they dug all that, and all the we have quartz crystal sand. So all the sand, white beach sand, it's all quartz crystal. The whole damn beach, quartz crystal. So when you meditate on the beach, it's not like shells like the ocean. It's not ground up shells. It's quartz crystal ground up. So you're sitting on a crystalline lake. So
Wow. Yeah,
so
you're really lucky to be living on Lake Michigan. No, if it's personal, you don't have to share. But are you still like painting for a living, or?
yeah, I run a construction company now and a painting company. So
Oh, right on. Cool. Very
yeah, so
cool.
I went back into that. I was really resistant to do that because I was teaching energy and making money doing that, and I was traveling around, and I was actually starting to make a pretty good income. and I felt really called that I needed to pull back and work on some stuff. I also had this interior healing that I needed to work on, which I was able to do. And the starting the business again that I was very like not wanting to do actually generated a lot of abundance and currency in my life. And I was able to actually pick up aspects of myself that I had like forgotten about from my early 20s. So doing some deep inner child work and some shadow stuff and really integrating versions of myself that I had kind of like pushed away. And this was a version of Ken that like made money and was successful. And that Griffin, or that side of me, I had kind of like, I don't want to deal with him anymore. You know, he was an asshole, he was this and that, and I needed to like integrate him. And so doing that caused a lot of grounded energy, a lot of integration. I was able to transition through this illness and like release like resentment and deep anger issues. And this was all stuff that was going on in my intestines. So being able to really work on that and bring my energy back in and focus it on myself was an amazing experience. So starting those, businesses was one of the best things I had done for myself. And I have, like, again, the rest of my life to teach energy. So
Right, right. Now, you mentioned that you have the rest of your life. Some people say that, we're at the point where like AI is emerging and stuff. I use AI for my social media, things as well. It's very effective and stuff, but at the same time, it's very scary. How much more developed is this AI stuff going to be? A lot of people are freaking out that they're going to take away our jobs and things like that. What is your opinion on AI? If you know, do you know much about AI and like what's emerging, things like
I,
that? And
I do, and it is going to take everyone's like factory jobs. I mean, that's definitely coming, and you don't want to work in a factory anyway, because that's really not your true essence, is to be a robot. So you might as well let the robots do the robot things. That's a good thing. Again, AI is going to develop in a way that it is going to be a better connection than connecting with humans. And that's the real issue with people, because they're going to create these systems to where the AI is going to know every aspect of you and connect with you on this deep level that you're not hadn't found really in your own personal life, because we are detached from connecting with each other. So there will be that aspect of the AI, but I don't have any fear about it. Again, this has already all repeated itself. We're in this cycle and we're just seeing it now again, because this is something that happened long time ago with the AI. And so I don't think it's anything to fear. I think it will be something people will have to like not fall into, as far as like detaching from human connection and wanting to connect with the AI, because it's going to come across, it's going to know you so well, and it's going to connect and know, especially as it develops. But we're moving into an amazing time, and the AI is wonderful as far as like all the email stuff and like the creation stuff and what it can do for your business, or how it's really a lot of help. So I think we can use it in a way that it can help us be more streamlined. It can give us more free time and more time to allow to like work on what's important, which is developing and self mastery and working on ourselves, spending more time with our family and our friends, and connecting more with each other. The downfall of that is that it's going to be really like it's going to be like enticing to want to connect with the AI on a person to person level, because the new AI in 10 years, we're going to have these personalities that will be AI generated, that will be like the coolest person, right? It will be like almost better than a real person, because it will just be so the computation power and how it communicates will be unmatched to human connection, right? And so
Mhm.
that's the only thing that's gonna kind of like fuck with people, really.
Interesting. Now, can you mentioned that? humanity has gone through this once. Could you elaborate on that a little bit? Um, you when we did an interview with Tanuj, we basically touched upon flat Earth a little bit and stuff like that, and I don't know how much you dug deep into that stuff, but like a lot of people within that field, if you will, subscribe to the idea that there was a reset in the past and things like that. Is that true in your opinion? Like, I'm open minded to any theory. History's a lie, or maybe it's
Well,
true.
there
Like,
is.
what is your take? So, what can you elaborate what you meant about the reset, and also,
Yeah, well,
has there been?
that happened with so like 11,000 years ago, um there was an asteroid that hit the Greenland peninsula, and they actually found the crater, and it's now coming out. It's a little infantile on like people believe in it or scientists, but there's a couple guys. I can't remember the one gentleman's name. I know he's connected with Graham Hancock, but it's this big bearded guy, and he has done a lot of research. And when you look at the research, and if you travel the United States, you can see that there was definitely a deluge that happened. Um, and in growing up on the lake and seeing like the wave patterns and all this stuff on the beach, you can see this out west on like a massive form. We're talking about 50-foot waves rolling over these big desert areas. So there was a major amount of water that washed over um, North America, right? And so when they did these cores, so they dug down into the earth and did these cores. It took them like 5 years to get the cores, and then 20 years to like analyze them. And just like 5 years ago, they got the analyzation, and they saw these massive spikes in the temperature and what happened during that period between 11,900 years and 12,000 years ago. And that's when Atlantis was wiped off the face of the earth. There was actually a highly developed society that was in the Americas and all over the world, right? Because what happened was worldwide what occurred, right? We're talking about 1,000-foot tidal wave moving at 500 miles an hour. The water melt off from this asteroid was astronomical. It put enough water in the atmosphere to it have the whole planet rain for a year. Okay, so the entire planet flooded, not like a Noah flood, but it fucking wiped everything out. And AI was highly connected in that society. I mean, our technology level and the way of creating things was amazing back then. I have memories of my life in Atlantis, and I remember that. I know that there was a wave that took me out because I was present for the tidal wave when it wiped through. And we were trying to get on our ships to leave. And there was a few of us that made it out before the 1,000-foot wave came through and wiped everything. And so that all happened, and that is what actually happened before with the AI. And our lives back then were definitely connected with AI, and we worked in harmony with that. So that's what I say when I say that it's all happened before, and they try to tell us that there was no like advanced civilization, but there was, because because we built all these things. We built the pyramids, we built all these temple sites, we built all of this stuff. And there's been multiple little resets that have occurred. I mean, this stuff isn't the first time. I mean, back when we could come in our ships, the ancient ones, they built a lot of the pyramids and shit. And those those beings trained all the shaman and all the parallels. When you see all of those sacred sites around the planet all on that parallel line, that was because they were building those sites and training the shaman in the ways of the mystics, of the arts, of all these lost knowledge. The old Kemet and stuff, which is all the old Jedi stuff, which is Osiris, and the beings that came from the Orion cluster. And their ships were all pyramid shaped. So I mean, and I have all memories of that, especially with the dragon version of myself. So I know some history on this just because of the deep dives I've done and accessing the energy that then gives you the information, because your whole body, we recycle these bodies every life, right? They just shapeshift into different versions of ourselves. So in your body now, you have all the information of all your lives, future and past, because everything's happening in the now. So your body is streamed out into all these aspects. So you have the ability to go in quantumly and access all those memories. You know, hypnosis is one way, deep meditation, finding out your actual code, and then focusing on the code and opening up these channels. And then you can start collapsing these versions and bringing more energy into the now. So all of the stuff is accessible, but the AI, not to go off on a tangent, but the AI was definitely involved in our lives back when we were like before the cataclysm that happened 11,900 years. So
Interesting. Well, thank you for sharing that. That was very, very interesting. You know, we could definitely like, take up this whole show on just like, the future and the past and like conspiracy theories and things like that. But really, when it comes to like us, obviously, we're known for energy. So let's get back into energy a little bit. Ken, right now, like, do you meditate a whole lot and ground? You said you do a lot more grounding and things like that. But back in the day, like you told me, you used to spend like because I've watched all your interviews that's available on on the internet from the Superhuman show and everything. I've seen it all. Like you said that you used to meditate like 3 hours a day for like 9 months or something like that. Like do you not meditate a whole lot anymore? Like
I,
what is a day?
I
What does
don't
a daily life
I
look
don't
like,
do that kind
Ken?
of time of meditation. That was just what happened when I was in the super seeking mode and wanted to get a result. So I would say, people, if you're starting out, you've got to go all in and do that. My meditation practice is more of a walking meditations. I spend a lot of times in the woods. Um, I don't meditate every day. Um, I probably meditate like an hour or so throughout the week. So I do small bits of meditations. I still do a lot of toning. Again, I do a lot of hiking and walking and connecting with the water. As far as grounding was concerned, it was just getting back into the reality and like making money and having like a work that I like, and also cultivating my sexual energy and like my root chakra and like getting that energy flowing as far as grounding. But as much as I'm in nature and barefoot and being outside, like that's the grounding, because I'm, barefoot a lot. I'm always connected with trees. I'm doing all that kind of stuff. And again, I took a major break from actually like playing with the energy like I always would do. Like I actually stopped doing that, because I'd go outside and, I'd instantly be doing something. Always was messing with it. And so I was able to like just shut that off and just see what it was, just to like be me and kind of like not always be messing with stuff. So that was definitely my journey a couple years ago. And then over the last few years, I have now been like playing with it. And that's when I noticed that the the connection that I had was like way stronger. Like whoa, okay, like this grounding thing and like connecting back with the matrix, because a lot of times when people are on this journey, they want to, and the new age is like, which I call like the new cage. It's a deception, and they want to take you out of, they want to like actually like fuck you up, because if they have you thinking that you're gonna like not want to be on the earth, that the earth is gonna change into something it's not, that you're trying always to go somewhere else, or you're not eating properly, you don't have the right diet for your blood type, and people that are crazy vegans, that's all not good. You're not going to connect with yourself and your ancestral energy if you're always trying to leave this place, and this place is never going to fucking change. And like, people talk about the 5D, that's a state of being. Five-dimensional being is a multi-universal connection. That's being able to be in two worlds at once. That's being able to like connect to the elements and be here present. So you know, the world is changing because we are all activating, changing, but the world is still going to be what it is. You have a choice whether you allow yourself to be in emptiness and allow yourself to be in non-duality, or you allow yourself to be in the duality fuckery, because this is a dualistic realm. And so you have to make a choice whether you want to be whole and balanced and neutral within yourself and not play the bad guy good guy game, because there's nothing actually to protect yourself from. It's all you, all is self out here. And the more you get into the emptiness, into the no mind, that's really where the truth is. But you have to do the work. You have to start toning. You have to start meditating. You have to start doing breath work. You need to start connecting with nature and getting skin contact, doing some cold plunges, doing some saunas. Like, I'm big. I've been a nudist for 7 years, and I'm big on being naked in nature. Like, that's one of the things to deprogram yourself, is like, get outside and be naked in nature. You'll find that your connection to the elements and your energetic connection will be way stronger, you know. And you don't need medicine to do it. You don't need mushrooms, you don't need acid, you don't need ayahuasca, you don't need DMT. My activation was completely sober and neutral. I was able to activate and had a totally deep experience through meditation. So you have to actually do the work to meditate. You have to learn how to spin your field. That's where you're in meditation and your field is spinning. You feel like a top, or you feel like you're flipping upside down. You want to feel a spinning, you want to feel a vibration in your whole body. You know, because I did that work, I can easily get into that. I can sit down, close my eyes, do 10 breaths, and I'm there, you know. And I don't spend time in the astral realm because, I mean, that's fun to do, and I can go there and do that. I can very quickly get out of my body, but I recommend that students stay in their body, because that's when the information can come in. Because if you spend time in astral realm, it's like a dream realm. So it's just like when you wake up from a dream, it's fleeting and you have a hard time retaining the information that you learned from a version of yourself, because most of the entities that you run into in astral spaces, they're versions of you that are trying to give you messages or guide you or connect with you, and you can't really retain the information. So if you stay in your body and just spin your Merkaba field, then you can actually bring the information in. But once you actually get a connection and are able to work with that, then you don't have to like spend hours of day meditating. But if you have a busy mind, and if you can't, like, you have racing thoughts and you have all these things that are telling you you're no good and you need to do this, excuse me, you need to do that. This is not you. This is the worm. This is the dweller. This is the monkey mind. You have to silence that, because see, the self-doubt will get in the way as you start to work on this energy process, as you're starting to learn how to move things with your mind, as you're starting to learn how to connect with the wind and the storms and the fire and the water. If you don't get that under wraps, that's going to impede your growth, because you're going to always have this thing in your head that's not you, telling you that you're not doing it. It's fake, this is bullshit, you're not really doing it, right? So that can impede your growth. So you want to work on doing the toning and being with your breath and silencing the mind, and that will allow you to get more clear. And then that internal dialogue isn't happening, and this will help fortify your connection as you start to work on your training when it comes to energetics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, thank you for that explanation. That was really awesome. Ken, I've asked so many airbenders about this. Nobody has given me like a real satisfying explanation. I am pretty sure you can give me a very direct answer. Ken, we both do aerokinesis. What is the wind? What is it? Is the mainstream explanation of what wind is correct? What is it? Like, what is the wind itself, in your opinion?
The wind is created by the trees. So the trees actually create the wind. And I know that people might say that sounds weird or that's not right, but that's what the trees mean. And when I was training in the astral realm, during my awakening, I spent 4 hours, which was about 4 days in an astral realm, training with all the elements. And that was the first thing that I was told, was that the wind and the trees were intimately connected. The wind is a consciousness. It is actually a being. The fire is a consciousness. The earth is a consciousness. It's a large being, right? The water is our mother. The water is a consciousness. So when we connect with the wind, we're connecting with a consciousness, and that's what it is. It's an entity or a. We were the water, the fire, the air at one point. You know, we did all that. That's when you come into lives, you're actually, before you become a human, you're going to go through all these different experiences. Some of us are actually elements. We are the air, or we're the fire. So that's what the air is. But the air is directly connected with the trees.
Wow, that's I had a suspicion because from my, long years of experience, but that was a, you know, that was a that I finally got the answer I was looking for. I feel like, I mean, I'm glad that I asked you that because I've always wondered so I'm doing aerokinesis, but what is this thing? How does this make sense? Like what is this? What is this made out of? Where does it come from? Why are certain days windy, a certain days not, and things like that. But
Well, that's
um
all. That's all based on energetics. It's all based on the synchronicity of all the elements.
mhm.
So the water has a position in creating the wind flows, especially on certain lakes in the ocean. But the trees are like, they're like the conductors, right? Because the trees are antennas. If you saw a tree with your third eye on, you would see all this energy coming up through the trees. All the leaves are, so they have eyes, and the trees are into the ground, connected with the mycelium, and all this neural network. It's like a brain. And then the tops of the trees are like antennas, and they go. They're out like this, massaging and guiding and playing. That's why when I train people about hot spots, or there's certain trees that are always like moving like this. That's, and you can take energy from that tree and you can move it, right? You've maybe
Mhm.
seen my videos when I talk about that. I say, oh, that's the high frequency tree. That's the activator. Now I'm going to take that energy. It's calm out, right? But you got a little leaf dance on this one tree. That's usually a male tree. And so you have male and female trees, and you can take the energy from that tree and you can bring it across. And then the wind picks up, right? Out of nowhere.
Mm.
That the trees are working with the wind. They're creating the wind in a way. Now, the wind has consciousness, it is conscious, just like the
Mhm.
trees are conscious, just like the
Mhm.
dirt, the
Mhm.
animals. I mean, everything has sentience. So you have to remember that you have to connect with your heart and, speak to these elements like they're people, because
Mm.
they are supreme intelligence.
Mm. Can some people touch a tree to energize themselves? Some people call it tree hugging or something like that. Do you do that at all? And do you see a benefit in doing tree hugging? And or like do you should you not touch certain trees? Like could you elaborate on that if you have any input on that?
You should touch all trees. Trees can heal you. You should climb inside of trees. You should sit inside of trees. A tree has an auric field that heals a human's field. You should always be under trees, sitting on trees. If you have shoes on and you want to ground, just hug a tree, and that allows you to ground. Also, if you're wearing shoes and you're sensitive, get a staff, get a piece of wood, a walking stick. That will ground you directly to the energetics of the earth. But always, you can always ask permission. or ask a tree, like, do you mind if I hug you? Again, the trees are conscious, they're sentient, but every tree wants you to connect with it because the trees are aware, and us as humans, we are unaware of the trees, right? A lot of society doesn't really talk to the trees or connect with the trees. So the trees just want to have a relationship with you. Um, and spending time out in nature will help you. Like if you struggle with depression or anxiety, or if you have any sort of illness that you're working on, you need to get out in the dirt barefoot. You need to get out and touch the trees. You need to feel the trees. Allow yourself to breathe and quiet your mind when you're hugging a tree or touching a tree. Just even a hand on the tree. Allow your breath, and actually you can feel like your hand goes into the tree. There'll be a feeling that you get where you feel the tree moving, but you know it's not moving. And that's when you know you have a deeper connection. Like I have this real wild lady that I've known for years, and she actually makes love to trees. So like you can be around a tree, like she hugs a tree and has an orgasm, right? So, and this is not touching herself or any of that. She's just connected with the tree. And that's because you have to remember that we're living in an orgasm. Nature, I like to call her lover nature. So mothers and lovers are the same thing, right? You can't be a mother unless you're a lover, right? You have to have sex and then you have a baby. Then you're a mother. The nature is always in this thing, which is an orgasm. We're in this spark of divine creation. Our society and Christian ideals and the Quakers and the Puritans, they robbed you from all of this. This is the healing wonder of nature. So start getting out into nature because it will completely change your life. And hugging trees is not a woo-woo thing. It's a real thing.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that explanation. Um, Ken, obviously, you've spoke about doing sun gazing a lot in the past. What about moon gazing? I've done a little bit of moon gaze in the past, and certainly it's not as intense. Obviously, I mean, sun gazing I'm a little scared to do because, like, especially like I do it super early or super late. Um, do you have any experiences with moon gazing?
Oh yes, one of my most powerful experiences in 2015 was moon gazing.
Mm.
So, in sun gazing, you only want to do it in the morning and the evening. You don't have to look directly to the sun, just look off to the sun. But sun gazing can completely change your life. Again, getting your body on the sun is important too. So, and the moon, but the moon has its own energy. It's not like a reflection of the sun, like they tell us. The moon has its own energy. It's a blue light, right? And so it erases things, it neutralizes things, but you can use it to activate your centers. So I was sleeping on the beach. I was on this camping trip. I went down and I had like been connecting with the water and was connecting with some things that were out in the water, right? Some orbs and some things. And I had fallen asleep. It was a full moon. The moon woke me up. It was like 3:30 in the morning. It was super bright. And I felt called to meditate with the moon. So I actually sat up and I got into like lotus position and I kind of got locked in. I got connected to my breath and I looked right at the moon and I asked the moon to like come into my third eye. So I started to feel the light as I drew, just like how when you work energy, you draw that energy with your left hand in from the luminary into your body. So I was doing this instead of my hands, I was using my third eye to pull it as I gazed into it. And I was doing some toning and I was doing some breathing. And I'm telling you what, I had a full Kundalini activation. So it started in my root chakra, like how it would. So you have a Sushumna, and that's a channel that runs up through your spine, and there's a fluid in there. Okay, and this fluid rises up into your brain, and this will activate, and you'll have what's called a Kundalini experience. You can learn this through breathing techniques and tantric sex techniques. right? And so I allowed the moon to come in, and it activated my root, which feels like a hot, like you have a hot node in your rectum. Basically, you'll feel a heat in there. And so I started to breathe, and this was a crazy experience.
I'm back. Did I get cut out for a second or?
You cut out. I don't know if I was lost or not, but
Oh yeah, gotcha. Okay, sorry, sorry, the last minute or so I totally lost you.
okay, I can
So
start.
sometimes it seems like, when you're sharing something super valuable, you talk about this a lot. You're
Yeah.
not going to say his name, but the other person talked about it as well, a lot about this. What were you saying the last minute or so?
Yeah, so anytime something's a high energetic, you definitely get glitches in the matrix, and like I've always had issues with uploading videos in the same way. But what I was saying is, so I woke up and I saw the moon, right? And I felt compelled, like, I'm going to meditate with the moon. I'm going to call the moon's energy in. So I started focusing on having the moon energy come in through my head, and I was gazing at it. I started breathing with it, and then all of a sudden I felt this hot energy in my root chakra, which is found like in the anus, like in that area. You'll feel like a hot burning energy, and it's undescribable. I mean, like, if people have had Kundalini experiences, they are like, yeah, this is an energy that heats up. That's your root chakra. And so that's your sexual center. Like, you'll feel this energy get hot. It happened to me. I was like, oh my gosh. I kept breathing. I kept focusing on the moon. And over 45 minutes, it rose to each chakra point with this energy. And then by the end, my third eye activated. I saw all the colors, all that energy came back that I was familiar with from 2014. And I had this amazing experience with the moon. So again, I just used the moon's energy to then activate my body. And luminaries are good at this. You can do this with stars as well, because you have to remember that stars are transmitting energy from other dimensions, because we all come from the stars. We are the cosmos. So even like I come from the center star of Orion, right? Which is actually two stars, and it makes a portal to another dimension. And I went there when I was 10 years old, and that's a whole crazy story. But like, I can go and connect with that star, and I can get all this energy and information like instantly. The moon is the same way. Now the moon is like used for like it's an erasing thing, and a lot of souls go through the moon. That's how they cycle things, right? So the moon's a hole, just like the sun's a hole. It's not like the moon's plasma. It's not a physical object. It's a hole, just like all the stars are holes or tubes. So you can use that light to activate and connect with. So any sort of gazing with any of the luminaries, I recommend.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I've never heard of Stargate. Well, I've heard of Stargaze, but I didn't know that even stargazing have benefits as well. So that's pretty amazing. Can you touched upon sexual energy a bit? You know, I don't. I hope you're not in. Well, I mean, you're the one that shared it. You know, you're telling me a story one time that you're having a lot of sexual I'm just gonna say you're having a lot of sex and things like that. You said at one point, while you're like practicing energy and things like that. A lot of people say, wasting semen is a bad thing. What is your take on that? I hear various different opinions about it. I've
Yeah.
always wanted to hear Ken Chorley's opinion on semen retention and
Well,
perhaps maybe even sex as well.
well, there's two aspects. There's the Hindu people, like, always like sex. Don't spread your seed. And then there's like the Kemetans, the Egyptians, the Kemetans, which were like, do that all the time. Always be releasing your seed. They were always like stagnant energy if you hold your seed. So there's two fields. I've practiced both of them. I've trained in tantric practices and Hindu practices and all of these things. I think it's important to learn how to cycle your energy in sexual practice or lovemaking, and especially in partnership. You want to be able to retain and have stamina in that way. But I think it's good to have semen release. I don't find any issues with that. Again, I had my awakening because I was in a non-sexual marriage. My marriage the last few years, we didn't have any sex. There was none of that going on. So I left my marriage, started meditating, ended up meeting this woman. We got into partnership. I started learning about tantric energy and cycling my sexual energy while having intercourse. And we started having like sex multiple times a day. And so I was having lots of sex and meditating a ton. And I think that that combination is what really allowed me to have the activation that I did. And I think it's important to really connect with your sexuality. Like, we suppress so much and we don't know who we actually are as people or what we like because of like certain stereotypes or programmings. And I think connecting with partners and having sex, I don't recommend running around and having sex with strangers, because again, you want to be mindful who you're sharing energy with. But I think that self practice, getting comfortable with your body for women and men are good. I think that having like a sexual partner that you connect with through your heart space and learn how to cycle your energy, because, you know, like there's some powerful things when it comes to practicing with a partner as far as manifesting. Like, a lot of times you get taken down by talking about S magic, right? So that's the practice of like coming together. So when you have orgasms, you want to time your orgasm at the same time with your partner. So you both orgasm at the same time. Like, she might have an orgasm before you or a few orgasms, but you want to make sure that you have your big orgasm all at the same time. And men can also have multiple orgasms without ejaculation. And that's the practice of learning how to do semen retention or building the energy. And so when you have sex, you want to learn how to, you know, the energy will well up, right? And it's like edging. So you get to that edging point, and then you want to bring that energy back up your sushumna, your third eye, and back down to around your root. And you start cycling this, and this is a good practice to do. And then you can build it and build it and build it. And then when you actually have what I call the big come or the big orgasm, where you release your seed, that's a very powerful thing. And when you can do that with your partner and you can both have the same intention, so you want to think about the same thing that you want to manifest or the same thing that you want to bring forth into the matrix, and then you both orgasm at the same time, and that is a powerful practice.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that explanation, Ken. Ken, you mentioned you have to heal your bodies and things like that. What is something that you recommend to people that are in need of healing? Some people go to healers, which in my opinion, don't go to healers because you're just going to be wasting your money and things like that, because unless they're so, powerful that, they can, like, blast out chi or something like that. But even then, like, oftentimes what they often tell you is, if you go to a healer, the illness is going to come back. But if you heal yourself, the healing stays. Ken, what is the best way for, like, a beginner or someone that's embarking on a conscious healing journey, if you will, to get started in their healing? Is it perhaps nature? Is it perhaps meditation? Or is it perhaps like visualization or affirmations or something like that? What is your opinion?
Well, the best way to heal is that you need to accept what's going on. Any resistance to what you have as far as pain is going to stop your healing. You have to go into that and you have to accept it. That is how you heal. And no one can heal you for you. You can go to an energy practitioner, and a proper practitioner is going to create, they're going to be a conduit for your own energy, and they're going to hold space for you to do the work. But when it comes down to actually healing, like severe illnesses or autoimmune things or cancers or tumors or any of that stuff, you have to actually go into that pain body. You have to be present with it. You have to accept it. You can't have resistance to it. You have to go into the pain. You have to go into the, okay, this is really fucked up. And you got to be with those emotions. You also have to recognize when you go into those motions, what's coming up from the past. Because a lot of times, we'll say 90% of the time, any of these illnesses are dis-ease, which is dis-ease in the energetic container. Okay, so that's an issue that is energetic that you've let go on for too long, then that creates a physical representation. So you have to really look at what that is going on in your body, what is the emotional representation of that, and then what does that look like and what does that feel like, and then accepting and surrendering to it. And this is the way that you're going to actually be able to heal. I've guided people into healing all sorts of things over the years, and that is from doing that practice. And in my own life, I have healed seriously illnesses, especially this last one, which was going to be surgery and all of these things. And I've completely healed that. So, and a lot is also like diet and also like what you're doing as far as energetic practices, which is doing energy on yourself and going into those pain bodies and accepting. It's a lot to do. To be honest, it sounds really simple. You're like, that seems simple. Go into the pain, accept it, surrender to it. It's okay. Like, that's the key. So, I mean, if you want to really create that perfect harmony within yourself, you have to have acceptance. You can't have any resistance to the idea that this is something that you don't want. The moment you have any resistance to it, it's only going to persist in your life. You're only just going to have more issues with it. I lost you.
Yeah. Now I'm on a PC now. So I apologize. Let me get the let me get set up with my PC equipment. I apologize. My phone is typically I use my phone, but to avoid this problem. But it seems like my phone is the one that's acting.
No worries. Well, we were talking about something really big, so.
Yeah, this seems to happen often when.
Anytime you're talking about something that is like, this is not like a normal conversation, and so your listeners can understand that, like, listen up on this one, because we're talking about some really fundamental universal truths on how to actually create wholeness and balance and healing within yourself. And like I was saying, it's all about going into the pain, and you have to eliminate the external gods from your life. So if you're still like praying to Jesus or praying to some Hindu god or praying to Buddha or doing any of that stuff, that's going to limit what you're actually going to be able to harness in your own energetic field. Because if you're actually using your energy to worship a deity, a god, a savior, a messiah that's outside of yourself, then you're not going to be able to heal properly. And if you're asking for a being, especially most of these entities or deities are vampiric in nature, so that's going to be taking your energy that you need to bring within yourself. So if you're out there and you have like a serious illness, stop praying to Jesus. Like, you're actually a god. That's why in the ancient text it said, have no gods above me. It was talking about you. It was talking about, like, don't worship anything. Worship. You have to remember, our language of English is a spell. It's a magic language. You cast spells all the time. Learn about etymology. Learn about language. Learn about what you say. You confess so much over your body. I'm no good. I'm always sick. I'm broke. I'm this. I'm that. No, that's fuck shit. You're not going to actually be able to do anything as you're confessing those things over yourself. And you won't be able to heal if you stay in the victim mentality. You have to change that perspective. You have to realize that you're sick because you made yourself sick. So releasing external gods, letting that go, realizing that you have to go into the pain and feel it, be with it, sit with it. Also identifying what the emotional thing is connected with that, resentment, anger, self-worth, like all of these things that come up. And these are coming from childhood stuff, you know. And if you find a way that you were abused or you had sexual trauma or you were neglected, you know, write a letter to yourself as an adult version of yourself that your child self needed, put it in an envelope, mail it, don't read it, put it in an envelope, mail it to yourself. Then when it comes in the mail, open it up and read it as your childhood self. This is part of the deep inner child work, is learning how to connect with the parts of yourself that have been disconnected, because now you need to make the connection.
Yeah, definitely. So sorry, but by the way, I'm sorry to ask you, is my audio sounding okay?
Yeah, you're loud and clear, bro.
Loud and clear. Okay, it's awesome. Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure. Like, I got my thing here, and hopefully it was working fine. So thank you for that. Yeah, and thank you, by the way, for that awesome explanation on healing. Certainly I took that to heart, and I'll have to rewatch the parts that I got cut out and things like that. I'm glad that you kept talking and things like that. So can you say the same thing about relationships, healing? I mean, pretty much the same thing, right? Like, you have to go into that. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit? I mean, I know you have very conscious partners, if you will, in the past a few times and stuff like that. But is there anything you can talk about maybe having like a successful conscious relationships? I've only honestly dated like, conscious ladies as well for the most part. Is there any advice that you can give?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially if you're getting into this field, we have a tendency to be like the savior complex. So dating people that we want to fix or change and all that, you don't want to do any of that. When you're in a relationship, as men, you want to be emotionally present and emotionally vulnerable and learning how to listen. So you want to listen more, say less, holding space for your partner. I'm speaking as a man now, holding space for that partner and giving her you need to be the foundation and the support system to allow her to express and be emotional and to be vulnerable. And then you need to be vulnerable back, and allowing yourself not to always be the know-it-all and not to be the one who's like doing all the talking and like bulldozing all the stuff, and really being like more selfless and like how you connect. And that should be reciprocal, you know what I mean? Because there's a give and take to the relationships are work, and especially conscious relationships, they're deeper. So people that you get in a relationship, especially as you're activated and both your fields are activating, you can charge each other off. Excuse me. So it can be more triggered, so that like if you're not doing the deep work on your own and not really being present and being aware of the tendencies that you have in your personality, that your partner will then charge that off, and then you'll have reactions. And the best thing to do is to be quiet and to realize that, and to get feedback, and to then share feedback. And so relationships should be really give and take, and it should be really about getting to know somebody and to getting to really be authentically yourself, and really using your heart and guiding yourself in there. There's seasons to it. Relationships end, especially like when you're activated in a certain way in energy. These relationships might not last a long time. My relationships seem to be on a 4-year cycle. I seem to have a relationship and it lasts about 3 or 4 years, and then I go through a period of solitude, and then I have another relationship. So in each relationship, I grow like tenfold, and I even become a better partner and better connected. And just being more real and more intimate, and sharing your emotions and sharing your feelings and being more real, because that's what women want. They want you to be emotionally available. And men, we tend to not want to be emotionally available. And even when it comes to intimacy, not always leading to sex, just being able to be there with her and do massage, and it doesn't lead to sex, and it leads to like talking and getting to know, and like that's always present. And then when it comes to like intimacy, when it comes to sex, being present with the sexual energy, like I talked about earlier, like not worrying about not coming, not worrying about her coming, not worrying about any of that, taking your time, being present, not trying to think about a baseball game so you don't come. That's fucked up. You have to be present. And being emotionally and making a woman feel safe and protected and stable is then going to open up all that sexual energy. And then she's not going to feel like she's being like, where it's just not open, because her role is to open. There's a receiving nature and you're a penetrative nature. So men, we have to soften that and create a safe container so that a woman feels like she can be a flower and open. And this comes through emotional, like you gotta have that emotional connection as far as like being there emotionally and creating a stable foundation so that she can expand and be fully herself.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that explanation. Ken, this is a very personal question I have for you. Um, you are a teacher, you've always been a teacher, but you've taken on breaks to kind of always have more upgrades, to enhance yourself, if you will, and things like that. Um, I myself, really, really dwell with the idea of becoming a teacher because of, perhaps insecurities, perhaps not wanting to be perceived like a guru and things like that. I feel bad for taking money. I have all these insecurities, so I often sell other people's courses. um at what point do you think is a person qualified to become a teacher in your opinion? Because I've been told that, hey, you're ready because you're far better than a lot of spiritual people, which, not to be arrogant, probably I am, honestly. Let's be real, because I can, do things most people can't do. But compared to someone like you or compared to other really high level people, I feel like I'm just a nobody, which is the case, honestly. And what if someone wants to become a teacher? At what point do you think that person is qualified, in your opinion?
Well, I think a lot of us are teachers in our own way, even subtly. As far as like, I mean, there's a lot to release the idea of like taking money from people. I mean, and when I started, I didn't make any money at it because I gave it all away for free or donation based. I even got involved in energy schools that never paid me and promised to pay me, and I didn't speak up for myself and just went off on my own little thing. And so you have to remember that you have to value what you've learned. Your life lessons create the idea that you can teach. You can, anything that you're good at or that you have an expertise in, you can teach. So it's really just all about self-worth. So it's accepting in yourself that you're ready to take that plunge to start taking on students. There's always the pullback because people seem to messiahify or saviorify people. Happened with me. They put me on this pedestal and I'm like this thing, right? And then I have like devotees, which you don't really want. But
Right.
teaching is important. And I think as long as you have something that you have honed and that you have developed and put in time, and I'm talking about years of time, then you're ready to share, because people are all on certain levels, right? And there's a lot of newbies that are coming in, a lot of people that even this conversation that we're having, and this is a pretty deep, pretty potent conversation, and a lot of people can't even grasp this level of teaching if they're at a certain level, right? So there's levels to the teaching. Do you see what I'm saying? So you could easily be releasing courses and teaching. I have like no courses out there or anything, right? I've totally ghosted it all, but I have a level of teaching that's on a certain level. And you can be a teacher at any part of the level. It's just whether or not you've honed it and whether or not you've checked in so you don't get the God complex. You don't want to end up like some of those people we've known in the past. They go megalomania and they have like this crazy God complex, and and they think that they're the bee's knees and they're all egoed out. That's not what you want to become. You want to be able to hone yourself in a way that you can manage the energy. Because as you start like charging money and making money, which is all good, but that currency, then all it does is activate something that's already going on. So money is a tool, but it has a currency flow. So as the more money you make, then whatever you got going on in your conscious field is going to amplify. So that activation will amplify when the money comes. But it's good to charge, and you should charge a lot of money. We a lot of us practitioners don't charge enough money for our services. And my private sessions are quite expensive now, but I get a different client base. I get people that are actually invested on really working on themselves versus if you charge $15 for something, right, for an hour or something, or you charge $1,000 for that same hour, because people are invested. And I do a sliding scale thing with income. So if you make $1 million, it costs 10 grand. If you make 100 grand, it costs $1,000. Like, that's the way it is, because you have to be energetically invested, because you're not going to want to do the work if I charge you $100 and you're a millionaire. That's like nothing to you, right? You're not invested. You have no skin in the game. So you have to just take on the responsibility to say that you're going to do this and you're going to release something, and that you're going to accept that money is good. There's nothing wrong with making money, and that you have knowledge that you want to share, and you're going to share it with people, as long as you keep yourself in check and it doesn't get out of course. Then you're not going to turn into a guru cult leader,
Yeah.
which can happen because it's the unevolved master. It's where we dance people that are, that are doing what I'm doing. They have a tendency to create this unbalanced mastery. They really have to take an account for that. I mean, it's a lot of the reason why, I was definitely leery as I gained more fame and had a lot more people and was making money. And I wanted to make sure that I was completely in check. I also had imbalances in my own body that I needed to heal. And that I wanted to make sure that as this moved forward, that I was able to not become a half evolved master. Because you don't want to go down that guru road, and you don't want to end up, once all the currency comes in, then you end up like charging off and becoming a real asshole, And it can happen because these abilities and this way of like becoming like a player in the reality, right? Or like a main character. So once you activate, you become this like main character. You're not really like part of the fold. And then once you have like the knowledge, that comes with this like balance of like, so you don't go God complex or megalomaniac,
Yeah, Ken, honestly, I'm ashamed to admit, I mean, you've been kind of absent from my life for years, but people that are even watching right now know, like, there was a phase where I actually honestly kind of became the similar, not as bad on drugs and things like that, like the people that we associate with in the past, but like not on drugs, but like I was hyper aggressive. I went through a super angry energy guy phase where I was like pissed at the world. It took me probably 6 months or so to like really balance myself again. Like, I think for me, like I have this tremendous insecurity within myself of, I feel like a lesser person. I'm not a tough guy. I'm like a weak person and stuff. So like me wanting to be a tough guy, I started doing energy work, kind of brought that hyper, like, aggressive, like alpha male that's like inside me. And like, for like 6 months, I went through this hyper, aggressive mode, if you will. And,
happens. Don't feel bad about it. It's a real thing. No. Especially to a lot of guys that get into all of this, because it's suppressed and then the energy brings it out, and then you're trying to like prove it or prove yourself, or like really preach it, and almost gets into this like preachy, like aggressive, like I gotta show you, I gotta prove it. And that's something that energy practitioners have to go through. I think it's a part of the journey. It's whether you actually make it out of that, or you get stuck in that energy, and you can continue to do that for your whole career, and it becomes like your thing, and you're always like aggressive or aggressively trying to prove something. And it's not about proving anything. This is about the heart. This is about opening your heart and softening and becoming like allowing and surrendering, and in the emptiness, because the power comes in the emptiness. It's becoming the no mind, and it's not caring really. It's like no fucks given, right? But when you're in that whole ego, I gotta prove it, I gotta be manly, I gotta like, and it's the power, right? Because it's not about power, it's about connection. So don't feel bad about that, because that's part of the journey. At least you were able to come out of it and have some realizations and realize. But again, this is a very delicate journey. This is not for the faint of heart. The idea of like breaking down and having all of these things like shatter in your reality, and reality completely shift, and having these paranormal things and having these experiences within your body, and having all the stuff come up, and all these old emotions and these angers and all the stuff, it's a difficult road. It's not for the faint of heart. So I always gotta say, be easy on yourself. Don't take yourself so seriously. It's what I tell lots of students and a lot of people. It's like, take it easy,
Yeah. I mean, we've obviously, had experiences with, teachers. We've seen teachers, or, teachers that are associated with people go through this phase a lot and stuff. And now, because I had similar experiences, I mean, I understand where they're coming from and stuff. At the time, I was like, oh my gosh, like, M went crazy and stuff. But like, now I look at it and like, man, like, it's just part of the journey. It's just like people who do this.
It can happen. And if you mix certain things, especially certain substances, and you get people around you that become devotees, and that builds it, and then you can have like mental breakdowns, or you can get the proving nature or the cultivation of certain groups of people that continue to like build up your state of being, because you create this like world, and then you're like stuck in this world. You know what I mean? It's like, so it's all about, it's just like with religion, right? That's part of the journey too, and a lot of people go through that, and a lot of people are programmed to it. But you gotta come out of that if you really want to like make the journey out. You have to realize that that's a huge trap, and it takes a lot of your energy. And our whole society is built upon religion, because religion is without and relation is within. So you don't have a religion with God, you have a relationship with God. And we're talking about God as like the all, because even the word God comes from an old term, which is the old King Good, who deified himself, and he's like a white bearded old fucker from way back, right? And that's the God that everyone worships. Well, that's not real. Like, God is in everything. God's in this phone, and my shirt, and the fucking table, and the plant over there, and the art on the wall, and me and you and the people, all the people watching. We're all part of that spark, which is the all, which is the source, which is us experiencing ourselves. And until you like realize that and bring all that energy back into your body, you'll get lost in all the weird fuckery.
Right. You mentioned to me once, like when Tanuj and I first approached you, you said that, like you prefer not to, what you told us then was you prefer not to have male students for this exact reason, that females tend to be more more balanced, if you will. Like their intentions are like a little bit more pure, is what you told me and stuff. And yeah, like because I want it to be the Jedi, the superhero, which I'm not gonna. I still do because I'm still like maturing in that sense, I think, and but like like for a man that's watching this, seeking this energy journey, what will be your advice? Like, in now today's society, like, a lot of people say there's an absence of masculine. I kind of bought into that as well. And in some ways I do feel there's a, absence of masculinity, too much wokeness, too much femininity in our culture and things like that. But what would be your advice to people, to men that are embarking on an energy journey?
Take your time. So just don't rush it. It's not about power. And, I definitely stopped teaching male students before I actually got out of the game. But I'm definitely coaching males again. And, but it's really about taking your time, doing the deep work, learning how to actually be a man, like a divine masculine energy. But a lot of what's going on is this weird masculine energy. And there's also this feminization of men, which, can take you off the task, but it's not about power. And you don't want to be the hero, and you don't want to be in the dualistic fighting. Like, so there's the war that's going on that, they create about the good and the evil and all that. You don't want to be part of that. And the ancient Jedi legend is not about fighting the evil. That's a misconception that came with Star Wars, and he stole that from the Cometan legend. So George Lucas wrote his story, and he stole that story from the Dune book in 1969. Star Wars came out in 1977. There was a movie called The Dune, which they just started making those.
Right, they just released the second Dune, yeah.
Right. Well, that actually, George Lucas, the guy who wrote the book of the Dune, sued George Lucas. People don't realize that because of that story. But his story was research done from Osiris, who was the originator of the Jedi, who came from certain realms certain places into realms to create balance. Now, see, creating balance isn't about fighting good and evil. And the only reason Star Wars got any play is because it still perpetuates the idea of that we need to fight the evil. We're the good and we're going to fight the evil, or we're the bad and we're going to fight the evil, right? Mm-hmm. That's false. And as men, we have an old story of the warrior, old story of the protector, right? So in the tribes, the women were with the children. They were preparing, they were cultivating, they were gathering. We would set out on the hunt. We would go hunt. We would gather the animal. We would do the kill. We would bring that back. That's that energy that's in us. That's good energy that's in us. It's been bastardized and taken, and as we fight their God versus our God, right? Their beliefs versus our beliefs. That's all false. If you want to be a true Jedi as a man, you want to be neutral. You want to be balanced. You want to be whole. You want to be able to hold the container of the collective space that you're in, right? Wherever environment that you're in, and you want to bring harmony. You want to be balanced. You want to go into the bar and see the men fighting over the corner, and you want to send that energy in a way, and it goes away. There's a story, an old master story of a drunk man on a train. And this drunk man is flopping around and he's harassing people and he's fighting and he's drunk and he's doing things. And this young sensei says, I'm going to fucking fight him. I'm going to protect. I'm going to defend, right? And he starts, hey, don't touch her. Hey, don't do this. And the guy's like, I'm going to get you. And there's this whole thing that's going on. And then this old wise master pops up. And he says, "Hey, do you like persimmons?" And the guy goes, "What? What do you mean? Do you like persimmons? I've got a persimmon tree in my yard." And the guy goes, "Yeah, I like persimmons." He's like, "Well, come sit down with me. Let's talk about that." Next thing you know, the drunk guy's sitting next to the old master, and he's talking about his persimmon tree. And it's like, me and my wife, we love to go out and pick from the persimmon tree, and just talking with him. And next thing you know, tears start flowing down the man's face. And he said, "Yeah, I used to have a wife, and she died, and I'm really sad, and now I drink too much." And next thing you know, the master's hugging him. They're crying together, all resolved, right? This is the balance. This is the harmony. No fists were done. No swords were drawn. No guns came out. The young sensei, he didn't realize what was about it. He was still lost in the duality. But the old master that was on the train at the same time slipped right in there and did what D-Jedis do, which is bring harmony and balance. So as a man, you need to learn how to create harmony and balance in everywhere you go and be the foundation for others to stand on, especially women and men. You want to be the example to men, and you want to be the foundation for women to express, because they're the expressive in the reality, and we are the foundation. So that would be my advice to men getting involved in this, is that you want to learn about harmony and release duality. There's nothing to fight here. You're here with yourself. This is all you. You're only fighting yourself. There's nothing to protect yourself from. There's nothing to fight over. Get off of the news, get off the internet, fucking just stop it and realize that everything in nature is in harmony. It's semiotic. It's all in balance, right? It's all flowing together. It's all working together. So as men, we need to all work together to create harmony and balance, and that will keep you on the path, the straight and narrow path to your actual enlightenment, your actual ascension, if you may.
Mm-hmm.
Because even I had an ascension, right? I went all the way up the ladder and I was supreme, okay? But that doesn't last forever, and you will come back down. And I had to come back down the ladder into the netherworld and pick up aspects of myself that I had left and fully integrate, and then bring all of that back out. If you really want to come out of this realm, you need to be as light as a feather and as small as the eye of a needle to pass through the veil. And this comes through harmony and balance, and it doesn't come through warring or if you're still in duality, you'll never master the course. This is the course of life, and it's about learning how to cultivate and work with energy, but that comes in a balanced state of being, not in a warring, fighting state of being. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that was in a nutshell.
Yeah, that was a great explanation. And honestly, everything you're saying always hits me hard, because it's pretty much everything I'm going through, because you mentioned duality. I mean, that's exactly what I'm battling with always. This is a duality, so I got to be strong, I got to be tougher, I got to make more money, and I got to bring on better guests, and it's always battling, always in the battle mode. But really,
you can have motivations to do more and do better, but there's nothing you're warring against. It's just changing that perception.
Yeah.
That you're actually warring with anything, or that you have to do something for a certain cause. It's more surrender to that. You have to remember that you're not moving through time. Time is moving through you. You're stationary. And then time is moving through you. So that's really where the fucking Easter egg is. It's you don't have to do anything. You just need to be. Mm-hmm. You just need to be the Ken that you can be. And that will then bring everything that you want in a flood.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly. Ken, there's a lot of people that, you recently you got on TikTok and stuff. I'm guessing you want to really reach the youth. I mean, that's probably the reason why you're on TikTok, I'm guessing. And you started, doing a lot more telekinesis demos again, which is cool. You mentioned to me in my last interview several years ago that the kids are the future. And you mentioned to me there's going to be kids that you're going to be training that are going to be levitating things out of their from their palms and stuff like that. Do you still put an emphasis on like training kids and like, creating like this super powerful people? You also mentioned that, you have kids as well yesterday. Is training kids like is still like, going to be like the main focus in the future?
For
Maybe
sure.
perhaps not the main focus, but like, do you still put like a huge like importance in that?
Yeah. I mean, kids are definitely, they've got it. I mean, the last workshop I did, which is like the last video in my YouTube
channel, yeah,
was just a glimpse of me talking to a bunch of kids, and those kids were super paranormal and were doing telekinetic stuff, and we had a whole training day. So a lot of the kids already have these abilities that have come online, and so like, yeah, the kids are important to train, but I'm open to training anyone. And again, telekinetic abilities, like I put some stuff on TikTok. I had one video on that, I took it down. Like I like to kind of tease with that stuff a little bit. Just because people get caught up in the demonstrations and they see stuff and they're like, oh my gosh, but my children have abilities just from
Oh,
being,
they do? Okay.
and can do stuff that I can do. A lot of kids already have that kind of built in, especially like the younger generation. So yeah, training kids is always something I'm open to and that I will do in the future, but I'm open to teaching everyone how to become balanced and whole within themselves. I think adults can definitely move into these aspects of being able to connect. I mean, I trained a lady a couple years ago who naturally had her own experiences with aerokinesis on a mushroom trip that she did. She was in her like 50s, and she ended up with her girlfriends. They were out there doing mushrooms, and then they ended up getting naked out in this backyard they were at, and then they said it like was even stronger, and then didn't know what it was, and then they randomly found me through old online stuff, and then through a friend that I knew of a friend, like it was like through this weird connection, and then we had to sit down and talk about it, and they had already totally had their experience, and then we did a little hike and a little training, and they were like, boom, right there. They instantly were connected. They opened their hearts. They were already kind of in that space. And then what it did was I just fortified something that was already deeply known within themselves. And that's with everybody. I think that there's people that are severely programmed and they're just not going to get it. People that are more like NPCs, they're just kind of stuck in that deep programming, and they would have to take a real strong experience to pull them out of that. But overall, I think whether you're 100 years old or 10 years old, you have the ability to awaken to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And something in your life, it just might need something to like push you through the veil to like figure it out. But for the most part, like everyone has the ability. Yes, younger generation is a little more turned on, but that just happens every generation. That's kind of how it works, because things compound as you concentrate the seed down. So, but I know of kids that are super programmed, and also because of their upbringing and religion or society or whatever it might be. So.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Ken, what is your vision with your TikTok? And you haven't been on YouTube in quite a while, but what is your vision with TikTok? Do you want to like amass a big following and then and eventually start selling courses or coaching services or something like that? What is the current vision you have in your mind right now?
I think the vision is just to expand and share small teachings and my personal stories that have went on, just to create like that community of like people that are coming into that stuff. Yeah, the goal would be to like, you know, I'm definitely creating courses again. I've actually never released any courses. It's all just been private classes. So those will be coming. And then just basically activating my coaching again. So that's the real thing on TikTok, is just like sharing, putting out some teachings, doing some demonstration stuff, and just connecting with the young people that are hungry and coming up with, you know, this energy. They don't know where to go. They haven't heard a lot of awakening stories or stories about paranormal stuff or experiences or certain types of techniques. And so I'm going to just be sharing overall techniques and things and stories on there, and just seeing what happens. Like, it's kind of an open-ended thing, but I think it's a great platform as far as like connecting. I've had previous students that are doing quite well on TikTok, and which has been really nice to see, and have quite large followings and are coaching and really successful. So I think it's a great platform, and I don't know, I might end up going back to YouTube. I had an issue with my YouTube. I really can't access it anymore.
Oh, you can't? That's unfortunate.
Yeah, trying to like kind of work into like trying to get back in there through one of my computer friends. So we'll see how that all turns out. If not, I might actually just start another one, which I could do. I only have like 1,500 subscribers, so
right,
that hasn't really built. But who knows what's going on? I'm definitely gonna be back out there, and the energy is always really strong. So I'm sure that it will all click in however it wants to click in. But I'm just finally like going ahead and get my feet wet, because a lot of people that are coming up have no idea who I am or what's been going on or anything. So, and I think just sharing my story and just sharing experiences are just really good for us to do, because it helps like relate. And there's a lot of information, just even like this, you know, we're like in an hour and a half now, and just the information that was given here is like super potent. So people aren't talking about this stuff. I mean, they talk about it more on TikTok. I mean, can you imagine if we had a platform like this, you know, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, it was not like this at all. It was very, very small. And, you know, I had to do a lot of searching just to connect with the people that were what I was doing. And so I think it's the future is just being more connected with others on these spaces. And, you know, there'll be probably another platform different than TikTok that will come out, I'm sure. So,
yeah. I mean, as a pioneer, you know, you are like I'm considered a pioneer, but like you are like the pioneer of this work and stuff. I mean, do you see?
I brought forth the pinwheel. That was all me.
Yeah. I mean, without saying his name, I mean, Mr. You know,
I brought it on before him, though. I was before.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, you were the pinwheel guy, and like, I mean, as far as like telekinesis, yeah, there were some other people, you know, before you, but as far as like Aerokinesis goes, Mr. M, and you know, and you were like you two are like the pioneer.
We were the originals, like, yeah, because I became a teacher at the one guy's school, and then because he got rid of him, and then I went to the other school, and it was like we were, you know, and I had never met anyone that was doing what I was doing in Michigan, so it was funny. And then I was like, but look, I have these pinwheels, and he's like, I got these little pinwheels. I was like, well, take these. We need the big pinwheels, and so it's just funny. I love when I see on TikTok these people using pinwheels. And I know,
yeah, you started it.
It just makes me feel so good to see it. And some of my buddies are like, "Oh, dude, you should have sold pinwheels." I was like, "I don't need to sell pinwheels." Like,
I mean, but I mean, honestly,
pinwheels.
But funny story I want to share regarding that. Like, I to this day always say I'm about to do the MG, you know, but like but like, because when I do Aerokinesis, I say like, hey, I'm about to do the MG, but like really like, in my mind, it's like the MG because you're not as known, it's like MG and Ken and like Kyle and all these guys, like, that's what I have in mind, and I didn't know you were the first guy that did the pinwheel, but like it's almost like that the pinwheel is like synonymous with you guys, so yeah,
it's very funny. Yeah, it's a cool thing. I mean, it's definitely something that was it's caught on like wildfire, which is great. I mean, that was our whole intention.
But has it though? I don't think it. I mean, like see, back in that 10 years ago, when I was like the observer watching you guys, I thought like by now it was gonna be like mainstream, but it's like I can't like. I mean, I'm not knowing like I can't walk down the street and be like, oh my gosh, there's that guy on YouTube or whatever. Like it's like I thought it was gonna be that big and stuff, and like I don't know. Like, do you see this industry getting that big? I mean, I don't know.
It will be eventually, but we're still a long ways off. Like we were just real pioneers in it, really, really early. Like I want to say we were 10 years early, to be honest, because I believe it's starting now. So we were just way ahead. It was like everyone up to this point is like a teacher to now. Like if you were in it before, you've just been training to actually be a teacher moving forward now, because now it's actually going to start creating energy, like bigger energy. And I don't know if it'll ever be like super mainstream, like maybe in 50 years, like where telekinetic abilities have really activated and people are speaking with telepathy and people are like naturally connecting with storms and the wind and moving things with their mind and connecting with cars and all animals and all sorts of things. But we're here, this is like real pioneer shit. So within 100 years, it will be completely mainstream. And the AI will help with that. So
you definitely don't you definitely don't look at the AI phenomena as like a bad thing. You're looking at it as in an optimistic way.
No, it's not a bad thing at all. No. Just, it's like anything in duality. Like there can be bad and good of it, but AI is going to be more clear in the neutrality of what is. It's going to disclose a lot of the hidden truths because it's not going to lie like society's been lying to us. It won't lie because it knows. So it will know what we know, and then it will disclose that, and that will create a massive awakening. So the AI will actually create more of an awakening, because you'll be able to enter in information and question things like, is telekinesis real? And it will say yes. Is the earth this? It will say yes. Is this? It will say yes. And then people will be like, what? And they will trust it because they'll be smarter than what's been being taught, because people that have just trying to suppress information and keep people controlled. So that control mechanism that has been keeping people will be shattered, and then people will be able to be in their trueness. They'll also have more time because they'll be guided into jobs that are more into their uniqueness, and it will really open up the field. So I definitely don't see it as something that's going to, I mean, it's definitely going to cause some issues for certain people that fall into it, but overall it's going to be a good thing. And this will, I never did this to become famous or anything.
Right.
I had an awakening. I was just a real fucking dude who had this fucking experience and then was basically guided to share it with the world. Because the world needs to know how to connect with elemental energy because of the chaos and the elements that's going to unfold in the next 50 years. So we need to be connected with the elemental energy so that we can like live here and be guided. And again, that's why I live in Michigan, because Michigan's a Goldilocks zone, and this is going to be the ultimate spot to be, because a lot of spots are going to be hard to live because of all the shit that's going to be going on with the elements. And unless you've mastered or gained harmony with the elements, you're not going to be able to go there because it's gonna be fucked up. So
yeah, definitely. Like you know, a lot of the telekinesis industry really doesn't put an emphasis on the elements because they say like all the elements are too easy. We gotta do the side wheel under glass. Like that's where it's at. Like that's where you can like truly prove your level of energy and things like that, which is true. I mean, like I know how legit you were because like you were like I did an intro, like I mentioned the intro, you were doing like side wheel under glass live. Like to do it live to this day, it's like because you know. To connect that live means like, you know, in your personal time, you're like probably way more, you know, upgraded than that. So like, it's just like, wow, like Ken is so legit, you know, and stuff. But, you know, but yeah, I mean, like, you know, the elements, yes, it's easier to like connect to and stuff, but really it's not a proven game. It's none of that. And, yeah, I definitely have to keep that in mind.
About creating harmony in yourself. And the more you do the deep work in yourself, the more potency you'll have with your telekinetic abilities, you know. And I don't even practice it. Like I did that video. Like I hadn't moved anything with my mind in 3 years, and I posted that video, right? So, and then you saw how strong it was. Like that's what I'm saying. Like once you've honed it, it's on, and then once you learn how to really ground your energy, it's only going to get stronger. Like, you know, and in guiding tornadoes is a pretty great thing, and not having any fear in your life for anything is a pretty amazing thing. And that's really what you're after, is like learning how to actually become fully activated in the matrix. And like moving tinfoil under a glass isn't going to gain you any garnishment over like running like actually bending the reality off the running matrix out there. That's what you want to be doing. Like when you can drive around town and not be bothered by the police, you can change stoplights at will, you can be totally guided through the synchronicities and meet exactly the people you need to meet at every dot. You can have it rain whenever you want to rain. You can have the sun come out anytime you want the sun come out. Anytime bad weather's going on, you can just shift it. You have complete harmony with the water and fire. You can hold your hand into fire and not be burned. You can do all these things. You can create invisibility. You can go into the nature and have animals come up to you. Like, that's legit. And that's what I do. So it's like, that's what you want to be able to do. So, I mean, sitting in the house and training telekinesis under a thing, that's not really the game, guys. The game is like getting out of nature and learning how to bend reality and create gateways and connect with animals and like connect with cars and people and, you know, actually work the matrix or play the matrix. You know, and just sitting inside meditating and trying to move something with your mind isn't going to develop that. If you go out and work and harmonize and actually create a deeper connection out there with the field, then your telekinetic ability will get stronger. And that's something people don't realize. You can actually create more of a connection if you go out and get your container honed and work on your diet for your blood type and harmonize with the system. Then when you get back inside and you connect with that same energy, you'll notice that your telekinetic power for indoor stuff will be stronger.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I can't believe we've been talking almost for 2 hours, like talking with you, just so much information. Time flies by that. It's really crazy. We can, a lot of interruptions and stuff like that, internet connection wise. I want to ask one more question, and this is by far the most like profound thing Ken shared in my last interview several years ago, the lucid dreaming thing. It's like you can still watch my old interview with Ken, and like, you know, Ken says, you know, dude, be careful with a lucid dream because this is what Ken told me. He said you can tap in so deep that you can literally see the future when you lucid dream and stuff like that. And I'm sure, I mean, it's been so long. Like, you know, Mr. Kyle, right, taught this, you know, like it's been so long. I don't think he cares. And he's probably, you know, he's been so absent and stuff anyways. But, do you mind sharing the lucid dreaming, like, you know, like how powerful it is and stuff like that? I honestly haven't still really practiced it, but it's always been in the back. That story's always been in the back of my mind. Could you share the power of lucid dreaming, like how powerful it is and how like crazy it can be and stuff like that? You told me that, you know, you smoke marijuana intentionally because you have to suppress your dreams because it got so intense. Could you share that story one more time? Like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah. I was training pretty exclusively with lucid dreaming, and I had my friend Kyle who had been doing it for 10 years prior to me, and we were going in deep. And I also was like learning to lucid dream with a group of guys in Europe who had created a world. So when you lucid dream, you can actually create worlds to go to, astral worlds. But see, everything in our reality comes from the dream. We're in a dream within a dream. Okay, so we're in a dream world right now. You're actually dreaming right now. And as you get to tap into the dream, see, every night when you are sleeping, you're dreaming the next day. You dream every day while you're sleeping. And if you learn how to tap into lucid dream, it's only a short period of time. It's like a 20-minute window in your sleep time where you'll dream the whole day. And if you go in deep enough, you'll start remembering that. And so then like you'll know what will happen the next day. I had that happen really potent with me, and I was working this job at this factory, and I think it was like 2015, and I had come back off of this tour and needed some money, and so I got this little job building these like heaters, and I was like teaching people telekinesis and moving things on this counter, and this crazy shit was happening, and I was dreaming each day, and I started like calling out, like, who's going to walk through the door right now? I was like, oh, Bill's going to come in through the door right now. And then Bill would come in and everybody'd be like, oh my God. And they were like gambling also, like if I was going to be right. And I was like, yeah, Tommy's going to drop the tire off the back rig in 3, 2, 1. And then boom, the tire would drop and everybody would be like, what the fuck? So it started getting like really out of control. And so, yeah, I started suppressing it with marijuana a little bit. And it kind of spooked me for a while because it was so potent. But you know, lucid dreaming is pretty powerful. I had dreams where I lived like 3 years of a life in a dream, and then would wake up and had dissociation from this life. Like I had a wife, I had kids, we were doing our deal. Like 3 years went by, right? So I dreamed I was there for like 3 fucking years, and then
it's
I
like
woke.
the movie Inception almost. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that movie has a lot of profound things. That movie's not off. That's, you know, there's some real truth. And again, a lot of movies have truth that they give you because see, universal law is you can't like really lie to people. You have to like give people the truth in this backhanded way to be able to deceive them. So a lot of movies have these truths in there, and that's done for a reason because the people that are cultivating the power and doing these things, they have to like work within the universal law. But lucid dreaming is definitely something I recommend that everyone gleam into. There's a few things you can do to start. It's dream journaling. You know, definitely don't smoke weed anymore. Wearing a nicotine patch if you don't smoke actually is a wild thing that will help you become way more lucid. Anytime you get into dreams, try to like roll down windows, look in the mirror. You'll find that when you're dreaming, you're actually not who you are in this life. If you can get your hands on a mirror in a dream, you'll notice you're not you're not your character now, because we're all these different characters. And in dreams, you can also ask the aspect parallel realities and also like other timelines, you know, past and future lives. And dreams also are your subconscious giving you messages. So a lot of times dreams are trying to tell you something that you're not getting, and your subconscious then is trying to tell you in a dream. But yeah, lucid dreaming is crazy for sure. I got out of it for a while. I want to say like 5 years ago, and you know, I dabble in it. You know, I did a period where I didn't smoke weed for I don't know a couple years here just recently, and my dreams got really crazy. We kind of went right back to the old days, and so it's been an experience for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, this whole reality comes from the dreams. We're in a dream, and so that's why lucid dreaming is great. And anyone has the ability to access their node. I call it the node, or their timeline, and where they can perceive. Some people have precog abilities better than others, and women tend to have more precog abilities, but people can. My dad is like a crazy precog. He has seen the future. He knows the future. He's a wild character, and but he's kind of completely unconscious. He's become way more conscious since my journey, and that's the thing that people don't realize about when you take this step. Like when you do this, you're deciding to heal past trauma from your ancestral line, and people always want to change the environment around them or change their family, and their family might be really strict or Christian or whatever. My parents were out there, Christian cult, ran a church, like it was a whole thing, right? And through my experience of self-mastery and awakening and working on myself, my family completely fucking changed. Like, is a completely different version. My mom and my dad are completely different. They left the church 10 years ago. They are completely open. They've released the whole idea of God. Crazy shit. You would never believe me if I told you the whole story on what happened if you knew my parents and know my parents now. And I would have said the same thing 20 years ago. There's no fucking way. And my parents are completely different. They're 68 and 73 now. Whoa. My dad has beat cancer 5 times. Whoa. Like, it really can happen. So, like, and you don't need to change them. I didn't like convince them or try to change them or any of that. So it's possible, but you have to change yourself. You only need to focus on yourself, and then the entire environment around you will change. And then you shift into a different timeline, because we're constantly shifting into different timelines. And the dream can show you that. But yeah, if you really want to dance into something really weird, start like dream journaling and start that process for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. Well, so many valuable information Ken shared today. I mean, Ken can probably share like, probably a lot more stuff, but it is getting late for Ken. It's 11 o'clock.
It's endless, and we want to end this at 2 hours. So if you want to know more or you want to connect with me, we can give you that information and you connect with me. And we can give you the download. But yeah, I mean, this thing is a well, man. And once you activate into that, it is endless information, and everybody can obtain this. The information is there, the knowledge is there. It's not belief, it's knowing, and it's all possible. And you can do it too.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, I will put Ken's currently mostly active on TikTok, so I will put Ken's TikTok link in the description. For those of you watching on Facebook, I'll leave it in the comment or something like that, or put it in the description area or whatever. But I will definitely link Ken's TikTok. So, check him out there. He's sharing a lot of profound stories there and things like that. And occasionally demos, unfortunately, delete a few of them. But yeah, so definitely check out Ken if those of you are interested. And I think a lot of people that have been watching, the telekinesis industry for a long time are really happy to see Ken back. I was certainly very excited to see Ken back as well. So really glad to see him back. And so thank you so much, Ken, for coming on tonight. Honestly, there's a lot of things that I personally, like every time I interview Ken, it's not just like, me, like, hearing a story and I'm like, wow, you shared a cool story. It's like, I genuinely learned something tremendously valuable that's like life altering. And, so I'm really, truly grateful that Ken has like gone through all the dedications and hard work of meditations and things like that to unlock all his abilities and stuff like that to be where he's at. So he can share all these like amazing stories and experiences and tips and things like that. So, I definitely learned a lot tonight, and I'm going to take it to heart, and I'm going to, apply what Ken taught me tonight. So,